Maestro is out on Netflix, directed by and starring Bradley Cooper, with Carey Mulligan alongside him. The film tells the real-life story of decades-long relationship between the famed American composer and conductor Leonard Bernstein and his wife Felicia. It was originally going to be directed by Steven Spielberg, who handed over the reins to Cooper after being impressed with A Star is Born. Spielberg remained on board as a producer, also joined by Martin Scorsese, also as a producer. So the film is not a straight biopic. I'd say it doesn't really explain the life and career of Bernstein to a satisfying degree. And as someone not very familiar with his story and having heard only some of his music, I have to say I don't feel like I've learned all that much. What the film tries to do instead, and I'm deliberately using the phrase tries to, is look at the relationship. It tries to tell a very personal story playing out between these two people who are clearly loving each other dearly, but struggle to maintain their relationship over the years for many reasons, related in many cases to Bernstein himself. His all-consuming work and huge ego, but also crucially his interest in various young men and protégés and having flings or straight-up romantic relationships with them, all the while trying to still be a husband and a father. The problem for me is that I felt the film doesn't really explore this angle deeply enough either. It's told through a series of short vignettes, snapshots of the relationship and individual scenes at various points in time, sometimes skipping like a decade at once between each two. But because of that, I feel we're only touching on the surface here and there. I never felt like I truly understood what Bernstein was about or what Felicia was about. I only got glimpses. I also didn't necessarily like the shift that occurs about, I don't know, 40 minutes in, when the movie goes from black and white to color. In the first section of the film, it also seems to be much less realistic. It has some clever editing moments which go from, for example, serious conversations straight up to a musical number in 1 second. It kind of evoked the same feelings that Rocketman did, of there being a certain fairy tale conceit to the way the story is told. But then once we're in color, there's no longer any of that in the film, and it becomes fairly grounded again. I suspect it was meant to be kind of similar to what La La Land did, where that film is a full-on musical when the central relationship is in its romantic phase, but then the songs disappear once the routine of reality sets in. But I don't think it works quite as well in Maestro. I will say that both central performances are excellent. Cooper looks and moves just like Bernstein. I even liked what he does with the voice, even though apparently that's not completely accurate to what the real man sounded like. Mulligan is terrific as always. She really sells that slow shift from early romantic love into a growing resentment, desperation, and sort of self-disappointment at having to live in the shadow of someone who isn't trying to be exclusive for you. When they're on screen together, it's really sort of electric. The music is obviously very good, and there's one scene where Cooper is conducting an orchestra performance in a church. It's quite impressive across the board. His performance there, the musicians themselves, and the way it's all shot in a single unbroken take, I really like that scene. But overall, I think it's unfortunately a disappointingly shallow movie that where the two central excellent performances are not enough to carry an undercooked narrative. I think the movie doesn't quite achieve what it was going for and doesn't manage to be this truly interesting relationship study.